Well, good evening. My name is Jim Kello. Welcome to New Tracks Meetup. This is where mentors help modelers build. If you're new to the show, please go to our website, newtracksmodeling.com, and subscribe to the website so that you'll be able to get all of the login information for both Zoom and YouTube for all of our future events. You'll receive an email from the website after you've subscribed, and you'll need to confirm that to make sure that we've got your email correct. After that, you'll get all of the information about how to attend and participate in our future shows. Also, hope that you'll be able to tell your friends about us. The word of mouth advertising is the best kind of advertising we can get, and frankly, it's the only advertising that we have right now. So I don't think that many of you are sharing. I hope you are, but I don't think so. So if you don't mind, send it to one of your friends, just one. And let's see if we can increase the number of viewers that we have on the live show. After all, that's the fun of this show to me. That's why we started it in the first place, instead of just doing a video and putting it on YouTube. So I really would appreciate it if you don't mind. We need a lot of help for our shows. Our shows are fairly successful. We've been doing it about a year. Last time I checked, we have around 200 to 250 people that watch each show, either live or later on YouTube, the videos. We have viewers from Canada, Ireland, Germany, Australia, New Zealand, Taiwan, Russia, France, Spain, and Italy, and a few from the US. Most of the viewers are male, and they're 40 and older. We have, I think that's pretty good to be able to have that large of a reach, as new as we are, and I'm really proud of it, and I'm thankful for all of the volunteers that have been here to help us to make that possible. It always amazes me the number of people that we need to have help us produce these shows and to put them on for your enjoyment. We have some volunteers now that are dedicated and doing a fantastic job, but we need more. We need people that can work with Jeremy Bothwell, posting to our website and making it better. And there's on our website, if you'll email the webmaster and tell him that you're willing to help him a little bit, then Jamie will get in touch with you and hopefully take some of the burden off of him and Jeremy on the website. We need some help producing the shows. Ken and Phil are doing a fantastic job in doing our shows and starting our shows now, but they need help. One of the things that we desperately need help on is somebody who watches us on YouTube that can help us with the chat functions on YouTube and maybe help us answer the questions or get answers to the questions that people on YouTube have on the chat that those of us on YouTube, on Zoom, may not even see or may not see at the proper time to be able to answer them in the time period that we should. Those are the kind of help, that's the kind of help right now we need. Dan Cohen is the person that you need to contact in order to help him do that. And we really would appreciate that kind of help. We also need help directly for Ken and for Phil. And if you think that you can help them a little bit in doing the jobs that they do, please contact them and make an offer of your help. It's really important that we have the best possible shows we can for you, so that we don't disappoint anybody, so that we get the message out as clearly and as forthright as we can. And we just need your help. For this many people to watch us from in this many countries, and to be able to, and for a lot of you to come back time after time after time, we know that people are enjoying the shows. So please help us produce these. We can't do it all by ourselves. We desperately need some help. I don't care what country you live in. I don't care what kind of help you can give. If you can help us, please do. I don't know how else to say it. Now I'd like to talk about some upcoming programs. The first one I want to talk about is the Hunter Line, 81-foot trestle, timber trestle, both in frame and in pile design. Rick, if you're here, if you'd like to talk about it a minute, that's fine. And
Rick is not here tonight.
Thank you. So this is something that we had a request for. This will be the second time that Hunter Line has done something like this. You're going to be able to see Marie built it step by step. It's going to be 6 to 7 separate segments on the shows, 30 minutes each. It's really going to be something. So we have all of the information about Hunter Line and this program on our website. So if you'll go to the website under the build alongs, you'll be able to find all of that information. Like I say, it's one of 2 different kinds of trestles. So you probably need to talk to Rick and tell him what you're going to be using it for, so that he can advise you which one, in his opinion, would be the best one. But ultimately, it's your choice. And if you want to buy both of them, great. Can't get a better mentor than Marie, I tell you that. I'm really impressed with her modeling ability. The next one I want to talk about is Martin Breckbilt, MMR, is building a Leadville Designs maintenance of way car starting September the 22nd. This is a company that I'm really impressed with. When I went to their website and read about them and the owner of it and his philosophy and so forth, and saw some of the models, I was really impressed. And I think you're really going to be impressed with the car that Martin is going to be able to build on the show. I encourage you to take a hard look at this. In Martin, most of you know him by now. He's been on the show. He's a scratch builder. He's just a really talented guy, and he presents the models in an easy to understand way. So you couldn't get a better mentor than Martin. And I hope that you'll take a hard look at this Leadville project for us. The next one is Jim Murphy, another fantastic modeler. He's going to be building a LaBelle Woodworking Company's business car. This is really a special passenger car, and it meant a lot to the railroads that had them. He's going to be building it in HO starting September the 11th, starting October the 13th. It's available in both HO and O. You get a 25% discount from LaBelle for the kit. And this is the second time that LaBelle has volunteered to be a part of the build-alongs. And I think it's a really, really great commitment of them. I can't thank them enough for that. And in addition to Jim Murphy, then you've got Jamie Bothwell that's around, that did all of the great information sharing on the underbody details for passenger cars. So between Jamie and Jim Murphy, you've got 2 fabulous modelers and a great wooden passenger car that's unique. So I hope that you'll take a hard look at that one that starts on October the 13th. Then on October the 16th, Bill Davis is back, and he's going to be building a rail scale models tobacco barn kit. This is not your normal barn kit. Steve Milley, the owner of Rail Scales, is giving a 20% discount for the kit, and the kit's available in N, HO, S, and O. And it's 20% off the price of the kit. To get the discount, you have to use the coupon code NEWTRAX. One word, not 2 words, one word, NEWTRAX, at the checkout screen, and you'll get the discount. The discount's available now through October the 30th. So this is a new kit for Stephen, and you couldn't get much better builder than Bill Davis. I really do appreciate Bill doing this. This again is the second one for Bill to do on our show. Then we come to All Nations. I remember All Nations as a kid. I used to build their models. Then they went out of business, and they were gone for quite a while. And then along came John Woodall, and he bought it from the estate of the previous owner after it had been dormant for many, many years. And he's bringing it back as fast as he possibly can. And you're going to have David Schultz build a waffle side boxcar. This is one of the first kits that he's bringing back. And I think it's going to be something unusual and different. And of course, you've seen Dave before on the show. You know what the kind of talented modeler he is. So again, you've got a great mentor building a fantastic model with a company that's coming back to the market after a long departure from our market. So I hope that you'll really take a hard look at doing this model and being a part of the build along with All Nations. All Nations has a website with all of the information you need on it. It's https:// and there's more information, more detailed information about the cost, about the discount and so forth, and what's involved in the build on our website, newtracksmodeling.com. And I really hope that you'll take a hard look at this, because anything that we can do to encourage new companies coming back in the market, I think is something that we ought to try to do. And John also sent me an email. He suggests that you buy it not on eBay, but direct from him. He says that because then he can automatically give you the discount and deal with you and make sure that you get exactly what you want and understand all about the building of the kit. You can pay by check, money order, or his PayPal account. If you use the friends and family version of PayPal, so that they're not deducting any fees before he gets paid. And I can't say enough about John and his efforts in trying to bring back this company all by himself. And so I'm really encouraging you to take a hard look at this company. Our next My Build is August the 21st. And the moderator, again, is Jeremy White, who's taken over for Chris this summer. This will be the last show that Jeremy does. And he's done such a fantastic job. I really hope that a lot of you will give him a good send-off by showing up and showing your models to us. Guys, I know that we have got some fantastic modelers on the show, and I don't understand why I can't seem to communicate properly with you to get you to want to come on the show and be a part of the My Builds. What this is all about is you sending a photo of something that you've built, put a caption with it so that we know what it is and your name, and you send it to Jeremy, and he puts it together in a PowerPoint presentation. Either he can go through them and read your information about your caption, or you can do it live on the show. But with all of the talented modelers that we have that are on this show, I know that you have built models sometime in your past, and I don't know what it's going to take to try to convince you that by showing what you've accomplished and the building of the models that you have done, how important that is in the encouragement of other modelers to try model building. It's extremely important. But I don't know how to convince you to at least show them, to at least come forth and be a part of the build along. This show is about participation. It's about the people doing the build alongs. It's about the people doing the My Builds. It's about the people that are running the show. This is a participation show. This is not a video show that you come and just sit back when you want to and watch it necessarily. If that's all it was, then I'm not sure it would be as good as it is. So please participate. I don't know what else to say. I don't know how else to try to convince you. Another segment that we have is, do you have a question about modeling? So far, we've had, I think, 6 or 7 questions. We've been able to get those questions answered by somebody on our show, either directly to you, or we've been able to have somebody come on the show and do a special segment to show you the answer to your question. So we try to accommodate every way that we possibly can. But if you have a question and you don't answer, then there's nothing that we can do for you. So if you have a question or you have an issue you'd like to get some help with, please, we have a form on our website. It's easy to fill out. I guarantee you I will respond to it. And again, that's all I can say. So now I'd like to turn to quick tips with a visitor this evening, in replacing Paul Thompson, Bob Farquhar. Well, you know Bob from previous visits. So Bob, welcome back, and thanks for volunteering to do the quick tip this evening.
All right, there we go here. So a couple weeks ago, Nick Santos did a soldering the track feeders to the rail and then the track feeder to a power buses. And this is a different, this is the under the layout, what I'm going to talk about, and an idea for joining the track feeders to a bus. So I use these tie plates. So you get them at Home Depot, any hardware store actually. They're used for making roof rafters and stuff like that. These are nail holes, like put nails through here to join one board to another board and so on. You get them in different sizes. There's 2 examples right here. So then what I use is number 8 self-tapping screws. Now, they have a thicker thread on them, which I like them better. And they could be a 1/2 inch long or 3/8 inch long. This box here is 8 by 1, but I lost the box I had for 8 by 1/2 inch long. And this could be confusing, but anyway. So what I do there's my power feed for the positive and going on to another part of the layout with another one of these plates, and there's a negative on this side. And then all my track feeders come down here. All the whites are positive, and all the blues here, all the negative feeds. And the idea is, if you get a short, this first off is fast to connect them. And I just wrap these things around the screw, and then you're good. And if you got a short, what I could do is just take this one off here. And if you still have the short, now you know it's in this area, like this section of the track layout. And what you can do then, and what you know that area, then you just undo a screw and take these feeds off and just unwrap them. And then if the short is gone, then you know it's in one of these 3 or 4 wires where you have attached here. So that's my tip for tonight.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you so much for wanting to share that with us. We all know how talented you are and really appreciate it.
Yeah, I thought it was the fast way to do it too.
So I hope, Phil, that's long enough for you to be able to break up the segments. Next, I'd like to go to Dave Rarig, who is just one of the best, if not the best, card modeler that I've ever run across. I just can't tell you how impressed I am with his capabilities at building in card. And if you've never tried card modeling, I think you're going to be absolutely amazed when he's finished with doing this model. The appearance of it is just going to be outstanding. This is a card model that Paul Egri designed. And Dave, I can't thank you enough for coming on the show and doing this. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Jim. Thanks for having me come on. Ken is going to run a video that I made. This is going to be second session. Just to recap a little bit, the design was printed on my home computer printer. It's a Epson inkjet printer, and I printed the model on plain cardstock 110-pound paper. So Ken, if you could roll the video. Starting over again on the second wall. Hopefully this time I'll get the tape on without getting all kind of wrinkles and creases in it. And then we can proceed with cutting this piece out and adding it to our building. Again, as I said before, we're cutting it a little bit inside of the edge because we want it to be a bit smaller than the original side piece that we cut out so that it doesn't interfere with the glue tabs on the ends and the bottom. Now we're going to the plate number 3, and we're going to use some of the extra windows that are on the drawing. I'm applying a Scotch tape, if you will, clear cellophane glossy over top of the window print, and this will make it look like glass. This is a lot easier, by the way, than trying to cut each one individually. I always try to make these things the easy, quick, and cheap way. I've tried other methods, including painting over the windows with a glossy clear finish, but the tape really does about the best job. Notice I'm leaving some white borders around each window. This is the area that will be glued when you flip it over and put it on the back side of the end wall. Here again, I'm using the Cheap Kids glue stick, applying a coating on the inside surface, or back surface, if you will, of the end walls, and carefully position it over those windows that you just cut out. Be careful to get them centered, although you do have a little bit of wiggle time with this kind of glue, which is one of the reasons I use it. It doesn't grab hold immediately, so it leaves you a little bit of time that you can move stuff around if you need to. Sorry you can't really see anything on this video. I had to set the camera up on a tripod behind me and hope that I had it aimed correctly. So I couldn't see what was on the camera while I was doing this. Some portions of the video that didn't come out the best. Here I'm cutting out the main windows on the front and the door. The approach here is going to be a little bit different because the way these windows are drawn in, there's like 3 distinct areas that I'm going to be covering with the glossy cellophane tape. The trick here, of course, is to try not to cover over the door because that wouldn't be glossy necessarily, other than the windows, which you could try to do if you're energetic, I guess. That are foolhardy, because if you try to put tape over the windows and the door and don't get them cut right, and then try to reposition it, you're going to pull the print right off the paper again, which will wreck it. Again, I'm cutting around the windows, leaving some plain paper white on the edges to stick fast with the glue. My scissors don't cut the tape very good, so I had to resort to getting my modeling knife out to trim it off. And make sure that when you cut these out, that they don't extend so far beyond the windows that you're going to interfere with your gluing tabs, because you don't really want to do that. Here you can see I lined it up so that I've got just a little bit of a margin on the left side, because that's the side where the corner glues together. Again, I'm using my glue stick. The card stock underneath it, the scrap card, that's just so that the glue that comes out and piles up in the window opening, that will stick to that scrap card rather than getting smeared around on the front side of your print, which again could ruin that print as far as appearance goes. And we don't want to do that. Here again, just position it very carefully so you get it centered where it needs to be. Part of the reason, by the way, for avoiding the glue tabs is so you don't build up an extra thickness of card, because you want just the one layer of cardstock where you glue it together in the corner, so that you don't get a large edge showing on your finish model. The thinner you can keep it, the better. Which you'll see later when I do the reinforcing. It's done after I've already glued the wall sections together. At this point, we lay out the 2 walls flat, and I'm going to glue them together at the corner. This is using Aleene's tacky glue. I put it in a little dispenser bottle with a fine tube applicator. I think it's about a 20 millimeter or 20 thousandths rather opening in that tip, which allows you to control the amount of glue very, very easily. And just position it up, line it up. Try to make sure that it's positioned right at the corner where it needs to be joined. Don't overlap it, because if you do, then you're going to have a piece of the end wall sticking out beyond the side wall. And here I'm just standing it up, making sure that everything is even and that it's straight across the bottom, because if you don't glue it straight, there's no way your building is going to be straight when you do the final assembly. The tacky glue sets up quite quickly. No need to clamp it. I just use a little bit of finger pressure after I get the pieces positioned where they need to be, and just press the pieces of the card together, and it will stay there in just a matter of seconds. It works almost as fast as like a super glue would, but you're not dealing with a CA adhesive. It's just a PVA type adhesive. Here again, I'm going to sight along the bottom and make sure that it's straight, because again, if you have it on an angle, when you set it up right and go to glue it together, you're going to have a building that is skewed and you'll never be able to get it straight. So while the glue is just somewhat wet yet, I'll make sure it's lined up. Here I'm cutting out the louvers that are on the ends. These are going to be glued over top of the final surface of the siding. So really I'm just cutting these out for now, and they'll be set aside until I'm ready to put them on the building. Once they're all cut to size, I'm going to edge them with a gray marker, a dark gray marker, so that they don't appear to be white card edges. I haven't decided yet. I'll have to see how it looks after I put it together, but I may actually use several of these glued together to make them stand out a little bit further from the side, make it look like this louver is sitting in a frame of some sort on the side of the building, or on the ends of the building rather. Again, it's up to you, but this is just something that adds a little bit of additional detail, a little bit of surface texture, so the building doesn't look so dead flat like it would if it was just cut. Now here I'm taking an additional print, and I'm going to start the process of the layering on the walls to give the surface more definition. This is where the magic starts in terms of cardstock modeling, because if you just use a flat print surface as it comes off your printer, that's exactly what it's going to look like on your layout. It's just going to look like a flat printed surface, and we're going to use this print as a raw material, and we're going to put it together much the same way that you would construct a craftsman kit in wood, except that we're using cardstock in lieu of wood or plastic. So here again, like I said, freehand cutting on either side of the pilasters that are on the sides of the building. And I'm going to cut all the way around this piece, and eventually we'll be gluing it onto a backer of heavier card, and then we're going to glue that over top of the first side that we cut and folded. So we'll get into that actually in the next episode next week. For now, I'm just starting to cut this out. Remember, you got to do it on both sides, unless perhaps only one side of your building is going to be visible, which in that case you only have to do the visible side, obviously. If the other side is going to be toward the wall or something, you can dispense with all the extra time and effort required for cutting and gluing. I like to pretty much do them all the way around because you never know. You might take this building and put it on a different layout sometime. And then it might be the opposite side that's visible. So I prefer to do a total finishing all the way around and on all my buildings that I construct, with very few exceptions. So here's the overlay, and like I said, this will be glued over top of the wall cutout that we previously made and folded. Okay, that concludes the second part. If you join me back next week, we'll start the third session and we'll get actually into the more detailed portion of assembling this thing into a structure that you can put on your layout. Any questions?
I know I've learned a lot just watching you do the sides like that. I'd never thought about the Scotch tape. I think that's a wonderful idea.
Well, it works. Like I said, I've tried other techniques, and I've actually printed the windows on glossy photo paper already. But depending on what effect that you want on your building and how complex the window arrangement is, I use different techniques.
Dave,
Now,
Go ahead, Jamie.
can you tell me the name of the knife again? Is it Olfa?
Olfa, O-L-F-A.
Okay. All right, cool. Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, the
Dave,
question I got is
Go ahead.
with the pens that you're using to outline the windows and etc. Do you use just a black Sharpie, or do you use actually different colors?
Well, I use different colors. You could use a black Sharpie, but I find that that might just be a little too bold. What you're trying to do is to get it to look like a shadow effect around the window or opening. I use typically Blick markers. I'll try to match the color to whatever the print color is on the outside that you're going to be running up against. And you don't have to use a marker. I mean, you could use a paint if you want, or some guys use a colored pencil, just run it along the edge, or it just happens that I prefer a marker, so that's what I use.
All right, thank you.
Dave, somebody on another episode, and I wasn't fast enough to ask, on chat, they asked whether, well, first of all, do you ever put lighting in any of these card models? And if you do, how do you avoid light leak and stuff like that?
Okay, yes, I do. At some point in time, I probably could post a few photos of some of my models that I built, maybe on that My Build series, because I've actually got quite a few photos that I've taken of various buildings that I've constructed over the years. And I put lighting in a few of them, not many. But once you add the internal reinforcing layers, like I'll show in next week, the following weeks, that blocks out any light. And as long as you've got a tight joint and you don't have any gaps anywhere in your corners and such, the light won't show through. there's an interesting side effect that I had on one building that I made. It was actually a kit designed from Clever Models. They had a sign on the front of the building that was originally like a backlit sign with fluorescent bulbs behind the lettering. And I noticed something that pretty much by accident, actually, I had printed the sign on glossy photo paper just because I wanted it to be glossy. I wanted it to look like a metal sign. And I had it sitting on my desk, and my desk light was behind it. And I noticed that the light came through that photo paper. And I thought, this is pretty neat. So I printed another copy on regular cardstock and cut out the letters and glued that on the back side of that photo paper to act as a resist, if you will, or as a block for the light. And you put light behind it. When I lighted the building and the light came through the photo paper, it looked just like our fluorescent backlit sign. So that was kind of a unique method of doing that, which never had occurred to me until I used this photo paper. But not every photo paper might be translucent like that. I don't know, but the stuff I used worked out really slick.
Well, Dave, thank you so much for being here this evening and doing that. Look forward to seeing you next week.
Thank you, Jim. I'm hoping that I give some tips. I mean, the fellows on this show are consummate modelers for the most part, but I suspect that a lot of them have maybe never done anything in this type of medium with the printed cardstock. So I'm just trying to show them another way to, I would say, make these as a background building. I don't think I'd want to put it up in the front of the layout, but for a background, I think it works really nice.
Thanks again, Dave.
Thank you, Jim.
Well, now I'd like to turn to our featured modeler, Dave Wesser of Craftsman Forest Scenery. I found Dave from Al Judy. And Al kept saying how great he is, how great he is, how great he is. And finally, I decided, well, if Al feels that way, he probably is. So let me see who he's talking about. So I called and talked to Wayne and so forth, and found just a super man and a great modeler. Wayne's a longtime NMRA member with a number 2062, I think. He started in hobby modeling in 1970. He's modeled in G scale for many years, modeled in HON3 most of the time, and still builds modules in HON3. He's mostly a logging modeler, and he started developing an interest in ON30 when Brockman came out with their models. And so now he mostly models in ON30. And I'm so happy that Wayne could be with us tonight. Wayne, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Jim. Glad to be here. Am I unmuted?
Yes, sir.
Thanks, Jim. Glad to be here.
Well, I tell you, I'm just I'm so impressed, and can you tell us a little bit about your modeling?
Well, I like you said, I'm started modeling. Actually, I never had to model as a kid, which is unusual. I started modeling at 20, and I've modeled for over 50 years, so it kind of gives my age away a little bit. But yeah, I've been very active in clubs all through the years, and a very active modeler on club layouts and my own layout. And my biggest love, of course, has always been building things, scratch building. I hate to give it away, but the last club I belonged to, I was there for 30 years, and I think I ran a train once. Running trains was never my thing. It was building, creating the miniature world around it that really turned me on.
Well, I think a lot of us feel that way. I hate to admit it, but I feel the same way exactly. What got you into logging?
Um, I lived many years in Western Canada in the prairies, and the last club I was in there, which I was a member for before I moved to Ontario, about 30 some years, we decided to model the Kootenays CPR in the 1960s with interchange with the K&S, the Caslow and Slocum Railroad from the 1920s mixed in. And a big portion of that was logging. No one wanted to do it. Nobody knew anything about logging. And I said, I would do it. And the logging parts of the club layout was about 10 by 8 by 10 U-shaped. And I took that on. And once I started that, it just became a love of where I went from then.
So then you started your company?
Actually, I dibbled in trees over those years there. I really didn't start into it until I moved to Ontario about 4 years ago. And I had dabbled in it before that, but never really as serious as when I came here. And I found there was a lot of interest here. It's something that with the amount of shows that go on, the amount of modelers that are in Ontario and in Eastern Canada, I found it something that I always wanted to do and something that's sort of ended up working out for me.
Well, I'd love to see some of your models. Can you show us some things?
Well, I brought a couple of models along. This is a, I don't know how well it shows up.
It's great.
This is actually a kit, which was Builders and Scale, that I built many, many years ago. And I always loved this model. So I decided, being I was in ON 30, that I would duplicate that kit. And it's the same. I expanded the plans and I totally scratch built this one, within the last 6-8 months ago. And it's totally complete except for the commercial parts, which are the bolt details, the chain, and the cable that goes around the, otherwise it's everything that I've constructed on it. So those are the kind of models that I've been building. I didn't bring a lot of those along. I also, when I was in the prairies, I belonged to a G-scale group. There was 4 of us, and we had a 20 by 35 modular G-scale layout. And when I left that group, of course, moved to Ontario, someone else took over my modules. But I still have some remnants left, like outhouses, and I still dibble a little in G-scale because one of my goals down the road is to do a little tiny GN 15 layout just to take to shows. So, I still continue to build pallets, pallets that are dilapidated, different things like that. I just continue to dibble whatever the mood seems to take me.
Well, listen, when we talk, one of the things that impressed me, and I don't see it modeled a lot, is the floor of a forest.
Yes.
The trees are one thing, but the forest floor, that to me could really set the scene off. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I will just show. I have a little, when I go to shows, I have some little modules I take with me, and this may show some, and of course it's quite green because we see all around it. But what I do is I like to collect products that, and especially in the summertime when you can get to it, that can do forest floor. And a lot of those are, there's some commercial things I use. Flock and Turf has a lot of good products that I like to use. I know some modelers use like real dirt. I don't like doing that. I still like to use the woodland scene soil. To me, dirt has a heaviness and dirtiness to it that I don't like. But I collect a lot of things. I collect roots and sticks and leaves and bark. For example, I in the summer collect a lot of small little twigs, because when you're doing, if you've ever driven through forested areas, either there's a lot of low underbush or there's an enormous amount of deadfall. And you can sort of collect it to your scale. Collect a lot of small stuff so that when you're doing the front part of the forest, that you can actually see all that deadfall. The other thing I watch out is for some dead tree things, and that's just a piece of twig that's weathered. I put a pin in it and I'll plant it just inside the forest edge, so you'll see some of these dead trees. Here's another example. This, believe it or not, is a root, and it actually grew this way. When I pulled it out, I thought, that's phenomenal dead tree I can plant just in the edge of the forest and dry it. One thing I must say about collecting things from outside, I'm very adamant about heat treatment. And if you're collecting anything you're going to use on your layout that you're collecting outside that's not a commercial product, put it in the oven and heat treat it, because you don't want to bring in any fungus or any kind of odd little things. Who knows what grows, and when you pick that up, who knows what cat went over it and dropped some droppings on it. So, you know, I'm very adamant about heat treating things. I know when you go on the internet, they say about 60 degrees for a half an hour. I do 200 degrees for a half an hour on a flat tray in the oven, and I know my stuff it's dead if there's anything on it.
You do anything else
For
stuff
the-
you bring? Yeah, for the real stuff.
For the real stuff, yeah, I'll collect roots, I'll collect leaves, I'll collect leaves, bark, a lot of bark like cedar bark, and some of the bark, some trees. You can grind it up and it makes some nice coarse. You know, get rid of the real fine stuff and a little bit of the coarser stuff. It's a matter of going out and just looking and collecting. And I'll also collect, and I often cut these up. These are just pieces of odd little weathered wood. This one would be like a tree trunk that would have fallen down, which makes it great. And a lot of these, I collect a lot of these because I can cut them up. I can use just little pieces of them, and I can show some deadfall. We know in the forest there's not a lot of rocks except some big rocks. So sometimes rocks that are reasonable within your scale, but make sure you moss them over real good with a lot of moss, and because nothing's real clean and neat in the forest in the forest floor. Grasses and that I use along the edges, and weeds, I just use commercial things, static grasses and woodland scene grasses and those kinds of things. But it's surprising, by the time you pile up some of the flock, deadfall, stumps, and things like that, it'll give you a pretty good floor coverage.
Well, you're known as the tree guy.
Yep.
Can you show us some of your products?
I can do that. There's a story to the tree guy. When I came to Ontario, I did my first show and I hadn't really set up yet a company, and people came in and at the second show they said, "Oh, there's the tree guy," and that was my name. I didn't plan on that name. I actually had a different name, but that's what I did. My products are this is a HON3 little display, and you'll notice that the different heights of trees, very sparse, very full, But maybe what I'll do is I'll show you individuals. We have trees all the way from what I would consider tall end scale, quite full end scale. I don't list my trees as N, H, O, or O. I list them as small, medium, and large. And I have a sort of rating to them. The small ones average 3.5 to 4. The medium, 6-inch plus or minus. The large, 9-inch plus or minus. So here would be a group of, maybe I'll try and pull 2 of these out. Of the 6-inch plus or minus. They're never exactly the same height, they vary. And I'll show you just some armatures later on. There's never ever 2 trees alike. They're all different in some way. The colors will vary, as you'll notice. Now there's another line of trees I make which have live top and bottom, dead middle. We do some that have split trunks. So that's a live bottom with a split trunk. Sometimes in the sanding process of the armature, you'll get splits in them and those will become split trunk. We make a tree that's a full tree, or there's a full 12-inch that's, I can't even really see it, that's even fuller. The thing is about these, you can see through them. They're not like people sort of make trees that are furnace filter, which you can't really see through. I make quite a number of people ask for these. They're live bottom and a lot of dead top. The thing about these is they're all flexible, like they won't break off. The material I use is very flexible. And in the bottom, you'll see always some trees all have a little bit of dead stalks on the bottom. I make some that are actually all kinds. I make some that have a bigger base, as you can see. The base is much bigger. This would be considered a skimpy tree. This again would be live top and bottom, dead middle. Let's see what else we have here. And something else here. And of course, the forest fire trees that have gone through a forest fire. And again, that stuff is all flexible. It'll never break off. Here is some other varieties of split trunk. Trunk's been split. Sometimes the trunk gets split in the middle, sometimes on the top, depending on the sanding process. And never ever really any alike. So sometimes trees will be full, sometimes they'll be partially full, partially dead. So quite a variety of those. Here's another module that's actually ON 30. I don't know how good of a view that is. Let me get this right. And it shows a variety of, and if you turn around the back side, there's even trees that the trunk goes all the way up with just greenery on top. This one has quite a bit of forest undercover, underbush. And it's really hard to see, I think, on a small screen like this, but so this has a variety. This actually has every one of our trees in, including our stumps.
Well, I can see why you're called the tree guy.
Yeah, well, thank you.
What kind of material are you using?
The trunks armatures are basically, they're all cedar, and I find that with with cedar, the barking, the graining for the barking is so much easier for me to manufacture quickly. Because, trying to do for sale, you have to do them in batches of about 50 or more at a time. So it's easier. The foliage, of course, is part of the secret of the tree, unfortunately. So of the manufacturing, it's not regular filter materials.
They sure are beautiful. They really are.
And of course, we make just armatures now. We just started this lately. If people want to buy armatures and make trees, they're available. These are the what would be the medium, and as you can see, this process of sanding creates different lengths. So you'll never get, if you're buying 6-inch, they'll be anywhere from 5.5 to probably 6.25. So which is nice, which is more like real trees really are. They never. The other things, of course, we do, of course, is the stumps. And I can get a good picture of this. And those are example of some of the stumps I do. And again, they're all cedar. And these are all rotted out stumps. So if you look in the top, they're all rotted out. And never again, as you look at them, there's never ever two alike. And of course, we do those all the way up to G scale for people who want extra large. And everything, of course, comes packaged. It all comes packaged individually so that, there's no fighting with them, getting trees or stumps stuck to each other. And of course, the other thing are the logs that we do. We do rotted out logs. And there's I don't know if that's a good example. There's a rotted out, looking at the top of it, at the end, they're rotted out. There is one that has a rat in one end and a snake on top. You'll notice they have, see if I got a little pointer here. They have the mushrooms here growing. They're rotted in quite a ways. And even on top, there's those, I'll get it in the camera. There's these little mushrooms, these little clear little mushrooms that grow on top. Often they have those. And there's another just example of what's that one got in. Maybe that one's got the rat in it. And they'll usually all have mushrooms of some sort, or the odd stick sticking out of them, and both ends. I don't have any here today. I think they've all gone in the last order, but I also have half logs that are would be buried in the ground, so that you see the top of the log, and then the bottom end they're tapered off, so they get look like they're buried in the ground.
Wayne, you're quite the craftsman, quite the artist, in fact. Did you have an art background?
No, actually, it's amazing. I'm a journeyman carpenter by trade, but I spent over 50 years, actually 51 years, as a cabinet maker. And I learned in the early days from the European. I started in a European shop, and of course, that's where woodworking became my real craft. And I've been able to do everything from spiral stairs to church pews to pallets. We did everything. And but I think that's where the art. I've always had an artistic side to me, but I think the woodworking part and the cabinet making part is what really took it forward for me. So dealing with wood, dealing with machines was just second nature to me.
No, I'm really impressed. I can easily see why L. Judy highly recommends you to everybody that he talks to. Does anybody else have any questions for Wayne? I don't want to dominate this.
Yeah, I have a question, Wayne. Do you make any deciduous trees, or are they all the
We're
evergreen?
starting to dibble into deciduous. The first ones that will come out, and the reason I'm dibbling now is I have orders already for more than I think I can produce of aspens and brain freeze. So it's aspens and so I'm starting into that. The issues sort of are with me is to get appropriate armatures for deciduous trees is a little more time consuming, and I try to keep prices reasonable. So if I know you go in and you can buy plastic packages in the hobby shops and pay $20, $30, $40 for a couple of trees, and I'm not sure that I could manufacture a lot of them except for those aspens or some of those types of trees.
Okay, thank you. I use a number of things on mine. I'm modeling the eastern Pennsylvania area and lots and lots of deciduous trees. And I'm modeling the fall time of the year, so I have to put colored foliage on everything, and it's very time consuming. And I've not been able to find any commercially produced trees that come anywhere near looking realistic. Most of them are very, very garish in coloration, and the trunks are plastic and they look like plastic, and so I was just curious whether you were going to get into it or not.
Well, I'm dibbling that way, but aside from like I say, aspen and birch, that'll be my first walk into that, because usually with them there's just a lot of top foliage and not so much whole body foliage, and it's a matter of collecting the right kind of material for that. And I know that I'm going to have to use a natural material, so sort of what I'm working towards now. I know I've dabbled around with some of the plastic armatures you can buy by trimming them, painting them, and they come out much better than what you would expect sometimes, but they're still not, like you say, quite the quality for frontage trees that sometimes we want.
Well, some people will make out of twisted wire to make the armatures, and then coat them with some other type of modeling material over top, to make it look like bark or whatever. And well, that's great, but boy, they take a long time to make.
just like that, but they take a lot of time. They take a lot of time, and and that's a really good one to me. And it's been coated, like you said, wound to wire, and it takes a lot of time. And I could never make those and sell those because no one would, even at $1 an hour, no one would pay the price.
No, you had to charge $50 a tree, and people go, "What?"
Exactly. Yeah.
I need 3,000 of those in my layout.
Yeah. One thing I do say about my trees is you don't have to tree your whole layout. To me, I suggest that they're great foreground trees, and they're great foreground forest for other trees behind, because you can put a lot of foliage behind that isn't that great, and put some of these in front, a row or two, and it saves a lot of expense, because we can make reasonable trees pretty cheap sometimes, and a lot of people do the wound wire tree, and some of that in the background is okay. I suggest people don't be afraid of doing that, but put some good trees in front of them, and it'll really make the forest look like it's great.
Yep, that's really good advice. Thank you.
Anyone else have any questions for Wayne?
Wayne, whereabouts do you live?
I'm in Cambridge, Ontario.
Okay.
Does that make sense to you?
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
I was the regional president in Ontario, so I know where most of the places are. And, yeah, no, I have some really good friends in Cambridge and where they model. I think I saw one of your pictures or something. Maybe you were at Bingham. Did you go to the Bingham show?
Yeah, probably. I've been
Yeah.
to all the shows the last while, yeah, except for the last 2 years, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And where'd you live out west? Where'd you live out west?
I lived in Regina, in Saskatchewan.
Oh, all right.
Yeah. Actually, I always say that was God's country.
Yeah.
My God, cold there.
Well, I'm originally from Winnipeg, so I know.
Oh, yeah. Same thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know how many of the modelers you met in the Cambridge area, but there's a good group there. And actually, the fellows that we were talking about, Rick Hunter, he lives in that area.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, I was at Rick's just about 2 nights ago. So, yeah.
Oh, well, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
I don't live that far, about
I'm
10 feet.
sorry to hear that.
I live about 10 or 12 Ks from them.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah.
Do you sell a couple of the stores, or have you got any products in some of the stores?
I've been talking to yes, but nothing is yet set up. But I've been talking to them. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
The
know.
other thing, there's I don't have a website yet, but if you go on Facebook and if you key in the tree guy, you're going to get all kinds of people who do tree removal.
Yeah.
But if you key in the tree guy scale trees, you'll come across some photos and things in there on Facebook.
Okay. Yeah, because I know at one store they've got quite a few trees that are handmade by one of the I guess the customer and stuff, and they're pretty nice. So
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, what's an average tree cost to purchase?
Well, these are American dollars, but the small trees that are 3.5 to 4 inch are $5 a piece, or 3 for $12. The medium 6 inch plus or minus are $7 a piece,
Oh,
and
that's
the large 9 inch are $9. And if they get longer than that, like the 12 inch I show you there, they run about $12. And some of the specialty trees, like the split trunk ones,
right.
Run up there in the $10 and $12 too, because they're something that aren't that frequent.
Sure. Well, that's pretty reasonable.
They're very reasonable, I think, for what you're getting.
Hey, Wayne, I'd just like to say hi. It's Mick Shea.
Oh, hi, Mick. How you doing?
Good.
Long time
just-
here.
Yeah, no kidding. Just for everybody else's benefit, Wayne and I used to be in the same model railroad club in Regina way back when.
Long time ago, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, good to see.
Go
yeah,
right.
good to see. I'd like to contact you. I'm going to send you a message through Messenger, Wayne, if that's okay.
And the other, there is the tree guy has a email, and that's craftsmanscaletrees, craftsmanscaletrees@gmail.com.
Great. Thanks. Good to see you.
Good. You too, Mick.
Anyone else have questions?
I have a quick question. Do you have like any smaller trees, like very young trees that are not old?
Well, I have made, and as a matter of fact, I just finished off an order for a gentleman, and he's modeling in scale, and he asked for 1-inch and 2-inch trees, which are pretty small. And I have to say, they're almost as difficult as making a 3-inch tree, but yeah, and less foliage on those, yes. But those are made for people who have a request, and I'll give them a price on it and for a quantity, and we go from there.
All right, thank you.
Well, Wayne, I do appreciate so much you taking the time to be with us tonight, bringing some of your products to show us. I would like to see if I can do come back and maybe do a segment on our show about how to do a diorama, a small diorama, maybe showing us how to do the forest floors with some of your products and some of your trees, if you'd consider that.
Yeah, I think that would be something we can do down the road. I'd be willing to give that. Yes, certainly.
Oh, that's great. Well, I'll get in touch with you and we'll set up a time to do that. But thank you so much for being here this evening. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you, Jim.
Well, our next Zoom meeting is going to be this coming Wednesday. Our featured modeler is somebody you know, Jamie Bothwell, who's going to show us how to laser cut your own structure in passenger cars. So I think that'll be something really interesting to a lot of us. And we've got a special segment again by Martin Breckbill, MMR, on his old kits. And we've got John Frankforther coming back to fill in and do the quick tips. So I hope you can join us. I thank you so very much for coming this evening. Please go to our website, newtracksmodeling.com, and subscribe. And you can also go around and look through the website to find out what's coming up on the various shows and what we're up to. I do appreciate comments that I get about the show, good or bad, and ideas for either features that we can do or people you'd like to see on the show. So thanks again for coming this evening. I really do appreciate it. We all do. And I hope you learned something most important and enjoyed yourself. Happy modeling to you. See you next Wednesday.